Welcome back to Mini History, where we unpack the past with fewer footnotes and more fun. Today's subject, Richard the Lionheart, the guy who somehow became England's most beloved king, despite spending almost no time in England and frankly not caring much for it. So how did that happen? Let's dive in. Richard I was born in 1157 in Oxford, but don't let that fool you. He wasn't exactly Mr. England. He grew up speaking French and Occitan, his mom's native tongue, probably didn't know a word of English, and spent his youth preparing to be a French duke, not a king. His parents? Power couple of the century. Henry II was King of England and a workaholic, and Eleanor of Aquitaine was a duchess, political genius, and medieval Beyoncé rolled into one. Together, they ruled the Angevin Empire. Think England plus a big chunk of modern-day France. Richard was the third son, but when the first two brothers either died young or rebelled themselves into oblivion, guess who got bumped up to the succession ladder? Yup, our poet-warrior prince with a sword in one hand and a lute in the other. At just 14, Richard was made Duke of Aquitaine, but instead of chillin' in castles and writing love songs, he jumped into a family feud that makes succession look tame. In 1173, he teamed up with his older brother and his mom, Eleanor, who by this point was basically over her husband's cheating, to rebel against King Dad. Bold move. Unsurprisingly, they lost. Eleanor got locked up and Richard was sent back to Aquitaine to pacify his rebellious vassals. His solution? Brutal force. Richard wasn't exactly a fan of diplomacy. He got the nickname Lionheart not because he was warm and fuzzy, but because he fought like a beast. Richard never planned to be King of England. He had Aquitaine, sunny weather, troubadours, wine. Who needs gloomy castles and Anglo-Saxon taxes? But fate and typhus had other ideas. In 1183, his older brother died suddenly. Richard was now the heir. Henry II, the dad, asked him to hand Aquitaine over to little brother John. Yes, that John. We'll get to him. Richard said, "Over my dead lion body." This caused years of royal drama, ending in Richard allying with the French king, plot twist, and going to war with his own father. Fast forward to 1189, Henry dies, possibly of a broken heart, and Richard becomes King of England. Congrats. He celebrates by immediately leaving. Richard had already taken a vow to join the Third Crusade, to go fight in the Holy Land and reclaim Jerusalem. As king, he couldn't just back out. That would look bad. So off he went, leaving England with a big crown and even bigger bills. On Crusade, he crushed it militarily, won battles, stared down Saladin, looked epic doing it. But he also made enemies of his allies, got into fights with other kings, and eventually had to settle for peace without Jerusalem. On the way home, things got real. He was shipwrecked, disguised himself as a peasant, got spotted anyway, and kidnapped by the Duke of Austria. Awkward. Then he was handed over to the Holy Roman Emperor, who demanded a ransom so huge it could buy a small country. England paid it, mostly through a crushing tax that even the church had to cough up for. Finally, Richard got back in 1194, found England in a bit of a mess. John had tried to steal the throne, again. Classic. Cleaned things up, forgave his brother, again, why, and then immediately sailed off to France to fight King Philippe. Over the next few years, Richard crushed it militarily. He even personally designed Chateau Gaillard, a super fortress on the Seine. Not bad for a guy with a sword and an architecture hobby. But in 1199, while besieging a tiny French castle, seriously, not even an important one, he got shot in the shoulder by some lucky crossbowman. The wound got infected, and just like that, the Lionheart was gone. Dead at 42, in his mom's arms. The medieval mic drop. So, was he a good king? Depends. As a warrior, absolutely legendary. As a ruler, he spent more money than he saved, was absent most of the time, and sold government jobs to fund wars. As an English king, he barely qualified, but looked great on a horse with a banner flapping in the wind. So why do the English love him? Because after Richard came John, the worst king in English history, the guy who lost all the French land, taxed everyone into the dirt, and managed to become the villain in Robin Hood.
Compared to that disaster, Richard looked like a golden god. Richard's coat of arms, the three lions, became the national symbol of England. His motto, Dieu est mon droit, is still the royal family's motto. And his legend? Bigger than his crown. He might not have been a perfect king, or even a very present one, but he was the kind of king people wanted to believe in. Brave, gallant, larger than life. Thanks for watching Mini History. If you enjoyed this legendary detour into medieval royal drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more bite-sized time travel. Until next time, may your taxes be low and your castles well defended.